The latter part of the 20th century saw the WEA having to change and change again to adapt to the world around it, while still striving to stay true to its founding principles.
I belong to that old liberal education thing that says education is a good in itself. Learning is an end in itself, whatever it is, because ignorance is bad. So whatever you do to overcome that is jolly good. But it won't sometimes earn you a tremendous living. Philosophy, for instance, on a wet evening in Stockton-on-Tees is not going to get you a job in the steel industry, but it may improve your life, it may improve your mental outlook, it may improve much of the circumstances in which you live, because you come to see the world in a different way. And that's, to people like me, old-fashioned liberal educationists, as important as teaching somebody how to spot weld or program a computer or whatever.
The WEA people have always been like an extended family. And it's always been an organisation that looks after its people, and whether it's personal or whether it's to do with the membership, we now have nearly 4,000 members just in this region. But even when we had branches and the volunteers, we used to have about 70 branches, we now have about 15 for a variety of reasons, volunteering, and we look after the old and the new coming in.
And even today, that close link with the trades unions remains, with workers being sponsored to take courses such as those held at Durham University each summer.
It becomes a social event. So instead of just being learning where it's like rigid and hard and you feel pressured, it becomes a good experience, something you look forward to in your life. And the trick is, if it can become like that, it becomes fun, it becomes enjoyable. The group itself supports each other. So somebody who's struggling are supported by others, and it becomes a really positive experience.
As it marks its centenary, the WEA, like all charities, faces the double threat of rising costs and diminishing grant funding. And while that means that the WEA in the northeast of the future may look very different from today, there seems little doubt that it'll still be around and delivering education for the sake of the love of knowledge.
It's been going for 100 years, so it's not going to die on my watch, I'll tell you that. So we've just got to adapt. The grassroots branch business of actual teaching, learning goes on, and I think that will go on because it can go on very effectively, very cheaply, no problem. I think the structure will change, and it'll change a lot. But the other things, the campaigning and things that are the grassroots of the organisation, that will continue, and I enjoy that, and I think it's you know, what can be better? It's second chance education for people and education for enjoyment. It's ideal.
I see us going into the future adapting to the requirements of society, to the requirements of the funders, as necessary to keep going that social change element in education, because much of what you see coming out of the universities now, much of what you see being funded is purely for employment's sake, to produce good artisans, to produce good managers, whatever. But there has to be another dimension in education, and we have to provide that. We also have to provide something which allows people to be critical, to develop a critique of their own, of the political and social and economic circumstances in which they're living, and learning how to live with those and to adapt them and change them for the good of society as a whole.